doing when we have these pieces of aluminum is we're gonna start off by just drawing our lines on them kind of gently. Then you can go over the lines a little bit. We are not trying to move a lot at one time. We're just doing everything very gently. So I can make my lines just slightly thicker or slightly deeper. You want to try and make sure that you don't push off of that line. Then what I can do is I'm going to go on this back side, and with those you want to try and use just a tiny bit of pressure, and you want to try and push it very gently so that it puffs up. And it doesn't look like it does much, but once you start to work on it a little bit, it will puff in. You don't want to move too much material at one time, because if you do, you'll end up putting a hole in it. And you can also use like wider pieces, like this one. When I get into spots that are a little bit bigger, I can use this one, or these thicker rounded pieces. And this is called embossing, and we're burnishing down, the terms that we're using for this. So all those patterns that we put in and all those areas, now I'm just raising it up on one side or pushing it down on the other. So I put this over, and we can see that it starts to come in there. And if I go back over and I go over my lines maybe in a different direction, it'll start to get a little bit smoother. But you can also leave it and keep a pattern in there. So, but again, we're using very gentle pushing. I can move this again, and I can make it even puffier, but you just do it by going over it multiple times as opposed to just pushing really hard the first time. Now once I do that, I'm probably going to have to go in and make my lines and bring them back out again, because it ends up pushing those lines up a little bit too, but it looks better if those are deeper.
Heavy duty. Heavy duty.
So just a little bit at a time. You can do all different kinds of patterns. You can do just lines and shapes and puff those up and push things down. The one that I worked on at first was this one. And I started off putting the patterns in down here. And some of that worked out kind of well, and some of it we're just kind of experimenting still. And now I'm working on the background of this one where I'm pushing up and puffing up spaces. Okay.